So thank you very much for the APDC for the presentation and for giving us the chance to share our views on 5G. And there is not a single day without having, in the headlines, in the media, events, talking about 5G. This is maybe one of the most overused terms today with artificial intelligence. So I'm going to talk about 5G disruption, but I'm going to talk also about some myths and half-truths happening today in the media and across the world when talking about 5G. And I will finish with a call for action for you here in Portugal. This is the second part of my title because I think 5G, this is not a race that Portugal can lose. So let's go then. I think I have a problem here. OK. 5G is real. This is not science fiction. This is not something that engineers are doing some research. Still, this is something that you can buy, by the way. And remember, in April, almost 8 months ago, in Korea and in the States with Verizon, they launched 5G. And take-up, for example, in Korea has been incredible, has been explosive because there are more than 4 million customers today with a 5G connection in Korea. This is almost 8% of the population. So we are not just talking about, a group of nerds or a group of early adopters. These are 4 million customers today with 4G, and we will see some of the consequences. But something that when I talk about 5G, and I'm not talking here or in Korea or in the States, one of the comments that we got from regulators, from governments, from customers, even from the media, is like this is a kind of a déjà vu, right? And if we look, for example, at what happened with the 5G auctions in Europe, according to the media and according to the quote of CEO Vodafone Deutschland here, it has been a disaster in a couple of countries, in Germany and Italy. Telcos will have to pay 6 billion euros just to secure spectrum. And I like a lot the quote of the CEO of Deutsche Telekom because he says that any euro that you put into buying spectrum, this is an euro that you are not going to spend on deploying the network. And here the question mark for Portugal is what the role Portugal wants to play on 5G auctions. Because we could trade off, for example, fees to secure, for example, better coverage. This is something that, for example, France is doing. Or we could reduce also the barriers to deploy 5G, and this is something that UK is doing very well. So, a déjà vu. And then a second déjà vu for me, when I finished my degree in 95, we were launching 2G. And we are seeing, and this is the case of the United States, some bad marketing tactics and strategies. Because you could go, for example, to AT&T, and in the icon on your screen could say something like 5G E meaning evolution. And this is not evolution, and this is, by the way, not 5G. This is pure 4G on steroids. So, and here we have a very strong competition with, very strong and bold marketing claims. T-Mobile saying that the strategy of Verizon is fake. Also, T-Mobile with manipulating the messages in the media. And this is something that I think we should avoid in countries now like Portugal, Spain, UK, are ready to launch and commercially 5G. So now, entering in the second part of the presentation, I would like to debunk and to demystify some myths around 5G. So we will go about on 5G for public services. We will try to show you how verticals are not just experimenting with 5G, but they are deploying quite actively 5G. There are some consumer benefits just in the near term, so you don't have to wait for 2022. There are concrete, real use cases. Some telcos are monetizing 5G, and take-up and RPUs are increasing significantly. This is the case of Korea. And current usage patterns, the patterns that we know today with the 4G on our smartphones, will change dramatically. And for that, I'm not going just to bring some examples of what we are doing in Korea. I will show you in alphabetical order what we are doing with some telcos here in Portugal and also in Germany. So, sorry, it went too fast. We should have a video on the screen. I don't know if we can see that. Well, okay, it's here. So this is something that we've done with Altis almost 2-3 months ago in Aveiro, which pretends to be a 5G city in the near term. So here we were using a 5G end-to-end network. So from the network, the radio to the core, just to integrate and coordinate some critical services. Here, a simulation of a car accident. So we had to coordinate firemen, for example. We had to coordinate emergency services, the police, of course, the municipality also. And here it's really, really interesting because we see the power of 5G with a very reliable network, with very low latency, because these people know what latency is. It's the difference between surviving and dying. So for them, it's critical. Then, also in the city of Aveiro, it was 1 year ago, and again, this is all about public services, we demonstrated something that I'm a big fan of, connected cars, not just autonomous cars, because you can have the best artificial intelligence inside of a bus, but maybe you will find a blind spot, and then maybe the bus won't detect another person, for example, crossing the road or the street. So having connected the bus with the 5G technology, and for that you need very low latency, you need very high reliability, you need to be very precise in the location of the bus, then you can take control of the bus. And again, this is working, and we are deploying this kind of solutions in countries like Sweden, Switzerland, and so on. And then another demo I like a lot, and that was done by NOS with our competitors. So this is not just Ericsson doing 5G, which I like a lot. They are using drone to detect a potential emergency here in a beach. I will let you see the demo here. And by the way, do you know that, I don't know the numbers, the stats for Portugal, but more than 400 people die in Spain because of this on the beaches, mostly in northern Galicia. So here the drone detects a potential hazard situation, and then you send immediately the emergency services to rescue the person being in danger. This is a test, but some telcos are already deploying these kind of solutions in other countries. And then, together with Vodafone, and this is in Ireland, we are working on how 5G could support innovative e-health services. So imagine some remote telemedicine, right? You need a very high bandwidth, you need a very low latency again, you need a very reliable network because you are performing a remote diagnostic here. And you cannot afford to have a crash on the network or to have a delay. So here we are experiencing and we are providing the best medical experience to rural areas in a country like Ireland, here with Vodafone. And this is really impressive because, you know, when you talk to doctors, they need very high resolution to the images being sent through the network. Then, together with Deutsche Telekom and Verizon, we are deploying 5G to offer the best educative experience to students. And here, for example, imagine in remote areas having students, thanks to 5G, being connected with augmented reality, virtual reality, and having the best experience again. And for that, you need 5G. You cannot deploy or support these kind of services with 4G or Wi-Fi. By the way, being a rural area, maybe fiber is not the most cost-effective solution. So here, for example, in China, they are already deploying these kind of services, and students in very remote areas can have access in real time to a class being delivered at the same time, if, for example, in a very good school in an urban area. And you can provide, for example, also specific educative solutions for people with, or students with special needs, more flexible educational programs, and so on. And this is a specific bet by Deutsche Telekom and Verizon in the States. But this is not just about public services. This is also about manufacturing. So here, for example, we are deploying 5G to monitor how something called blister, this is a kind of blade propeller inside of a jet engine, is being manufactured in Germany. So here, you need to monitor in real time. Then you can take action to stop maybe the robot or to move the robot to ensure a very high quality propeller, which will guarantee not only the security of the plane and the engine, but also the fact that you will reduce errors in your production line or potential accidents. And this is a specific bet by the German government. You know, the Industry 4.0 initiative being launched by Chancellor Merkel. So here in the picture, you will see her in the Hannover Messe, for example, testing 5G technology, how 5G could guarantee that Germany can still be a leader into manufacturing. So a very interesting demo. And by the way, you can also reduce CO2 emissions because these jet engines will consume less fuel because of the propeller being better manufactured. And this is not just about high-end sectors. We are testing 5G, for example, in rural areas. And a concrete example in your screen is what Vodafone is doing, for example, in UK. There is a specific initiative being funded by the government called 5G Rural First, so trying to deploy 5G in remote areas. And here you could connect a kind of sensor on the color of the cow and have a connected cow. So you can monitor in real time the habits of the cow, and that cow could have a potential health issue, and then send a doctor, a veterinarian, just to take care of the cow. Or on the right of the screen, something that we are doing with KPN in the Netherlands. You know that the Netherlands is an economic power when it comes to agriculture. And here we have connected the drone with the tractor. So what the drone is doing is sending in real time very high quality images to the tractor, and the tractor with a precision of just 5 square centimeters can drop a dose of herbicide or fertilizer. And with that, the agriculture can reduce their costs by 30 and 40%. This is not science fiction. This is already operational in the Netherlands. Then, talking about the residential customer, this is a demo I'm very proud of because we've done that with our friends of Vodafone in northern Portugal and Galicia. That was the first 5G roaming gaming session between two countries, Spain and Portugal. If you talk to a gamer, and by the way, we have 50 million gamers in Spain, and I've done a quick number, and I think we should have something around 2-3 million here in Portugal. These people, for them, is critical latency. And if these people are testing VR and AR, they cannot rely on Wi-Fi and 4G. You have to provide that gaming experience with the 5G. And by the way, you know, the gaming industry is higher, is bigger than the combination of the music industry and the movie industry. So this is a very interesting sector, and many telcos, not just Vodafone, but also Verizon, also Telefonica, for example, they are testing 5G for the gaming industry. And then, sorry, I have a problem with the control. This is something that today spectators can experience in Korea. I will let you see the video. So imagine having your smartphone and seeing that through your smartphone or through virtual reality glasses. You cannot provide that in the stadium with the Wi-Fi and 4G. Wouldn't be people ready to pay maybe 2-3 euros more to experience that in a stadium? I think the answer is yes. I think this is one of the killer applications, and this explains why Verizon has signed some agreements with more than 15 football teams in the States just to secure the rights to exploit the technology in these stadiums. Because of the quality, because of the latency, you cannot again deploy that on 4G and Wi-Fi. Orange in North Spain has tested that during a football match. Really, really impressive. But we are doing that also in Portugal, and this is one of my also favorite demos, again here with the Vodafone, because that was during a concert in Paredes de Coura, so I was looking into Google Maps. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend that event during the summer, but Paredes de Coura is 419 kilometers away from Lisbon. So we sent the journalist being in Lisbon in real time to interview the CTO of Vodafone Portugal. So you have to go very close to the image to detect that the person in the middle is not a real person, is being an hologram. And of course, you cannot do that with 4G and Wi-Fi. You cannot connect the journalist with a fiber connection. You need 5G. So you can here provide a really immersive experience thanks to 5G. Wouldn't be ready people attending a concert to pay maybe a little bit more for this kind of experience? I think the answer is yes, and this is already happening in Korea and also in the United States. Very interesting demo. And then, which are the benefits? And even though the first 5G launches, as I said at the beginning, were launched officially in April during the spring, so we just have 8 months of experience, the results have been impressive in Korea. I said at the beginning, more than 4 million customers today with a 5G connection. And what's really, really interesting is that people moving from 4G to 5G consume 3 times more. So instead of 400 megabytes per day, more than 1.3 gigabytes per day. Imagine the stress on the network. And by the way, 50% of the traffic today in a 5G network in Korea is augmented reality and virtual reality. So this is not science fiction. People are using that technology. When we look at the stats from the second telco in Korea, people have reduced significantly how they use Wi-Fi because the connectivity, the bandwidth is so good that people forget Wi-Fi. And of course, it helps to have an unlimited data plan here. So really, really impressive. And again, these are not just early adopters. This is 10% of the population. And Korea has done, out of 5G, and this is, I think, a clear example, a truly country project. So they want to be a powerhouse thanks to 5G. So we have ideas for Portugal, and this is a slide I've used together with my colleagues here in Portugal in discussions with the customers, with the government, with the regulator, because we could deploy, as we've seen for NOS, smart civilian services, for example, along the coast. We could deploy predictive maintenance services for utilities in remote areas to support field operations using drones, for example. We could use in the very strong manufacturing sector in Portugal for automotive sector. We could use, again, predictive maintenance. We could deploy 5G for remote operations and robotics. We could also deploy 5G to provide new cultural and immersive experiences. This is something that, for example, we are testing in Barcelona and in Madrid, just to provide to the tourist another differential experience. So these are not just dots, these are ideas that we are discussing with not only telcos, but also the whole ecosystem. And I will finish with the 2 slides being maybe a little bit more provocative here. Is 5G race Portugal is happy to lose? So I think we have lights and shadows. So on the left, when we look, for example, according to the 5G observatory in Europe. Portugal is doing pretty well, and I'm very happy that, for example, together with my colleagues in Portugal, we are sharing what we are doing here in Portugal with other colleagues, and they are really impressed. So it's not a matter of the technology, it's not a matter of the push from telcos, because I think we are doing a pretty good job. But then, according to other analysts, 5G is not just about technology. This is about innovation, this is about regulation, this is about human capital. And here, unfortunately, Spain and Portugal, we are at the bottom in the ranking in Europe. So according to these analysts, we need fit-for-purpose 5G policy to support deployment, to making sure that we license, that we auction 5G spectrum with the right model so we can benefit with a strong deployment and we can reduce barriers. So we've done the numbers, and here we've worked with a top consulting company called Arthur de Little, and we've quantified the potential for the whole ICT industry in a country like Portugal. And according to our estimations, Portugal could benefit of an additional 4 billion euros by 2030, US dollars by 2030, if and only if we have the right policy enablers. So meaning the amount of spectrum being auctioned on time, at the right price. Also the backing from the government, because we think it's very powerful to have a government backing 5G deployment and to allow and support 5G use cases. This is the case of UK, France, Italy, and Spain. So I have also very strong expectations here in Portugal. I think we already have the commitment from the telco sector. You've seen the videos, so this is already happening. And also, we have, and here we play also a critical role, vendors like Ericsson, our customers, to convince industries, verticals, and the public administration that 5G can make a lot of sense to benefit from that potential. And with that, I'm done, and thank you very much.